Hello there, I'm Dana Cowley and your host for Charter Local Edition Northwest. Today we're in Salem, Oregon, and we're talking to your lawmakers about what they're doing for you. My guest today is Representative Wayne Krieger. Wayne, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
You have devoted a great deal of time to the Oregon Hatchery Research Center.
Yeah, we have, and there's a good number of legislators have been a part of that. And it came into existence, the concept in 2001. That was my first session here. Lindsey Ball was then the Director of Fish and Wildlife, and he had the concept of developing a research center for salmon, which we do not have anywhere on the Pacific coast, and that developed into that hatchery actually coming into existence in 2006.
And is that the primary focus of the research now?
It should have been a lot earlier, but we had to do a bill 3441 in 2014, and it completely reorganized the board, put a different emphasis on their objectives and where they're to be going and the research projects that were to be done, and gave the board a lot more authority. And the reason was, originally we were trying to make a determination between hatchery and wild, and that's in that scenario there had been an ongoing debate that hatchery fish were less productive than wild fish. And so the idea was, what hatchery management practices or physical conditions in a hatchery are causing those fish to become less productive in one generation. So the board did come forward and develop 7 proposed research projects, and they're all around that subject of productivity. Then last year, in 15, when we were here, we were able to get an allocation through a surcharge on angling licenses that's going to generate $1.2 million over each year for 10 years. That's $12 million dedicated specifically to research, and those dollars are very much in the control of that board because they control the projects.
Well, it's so important to researchers to have continued funding, because you can get well into a project, and if you lose your funding, your research is lost, and that's counterproductive. So.
It is, and there's only been, I think, 2 bills, 3108 that I did in 2001 on nearshore fisheries that had dedicated funding for research, and then this one. And what was good about the bill, it passed 89-1, the original bill, and last time it was almost the same. A great number of people understand
good support.
You can't manage a resource if you don't have the science foundation upon how to do that.
What results are we getting so far, and then what are some of the anticipated results?
Well, like I said, they got 7 projects, and there's one that has to do with homing. Why do they come back to their native streams or not? And another one has to do with mate selection, which we didn't really realize earlier plays a bigger part in the productivity. That's just 2 of them, but of the 7.
Makes sense.
And they're going to pick out a couple of them that are specific to that, the main topic, what hatchery management practices or physical conditions are causing them to be less productive. When we understand that, then we can actually produce a fish, a hatchery fish, that is compatible with a wild fish and won't have a negative effect on them, because we do need to protect the wild genetics, we need to protect their productivity, and there are, in some cases, places we've set aside just for wild fish, but it will allow us to produce larger numbers of possibly hatchery fish that won't be in conflict. Therefore, right now 70% of our catchable fish are actually hatchery fish. So if 70% of a bigger number, we looked at the economic impact that this could mean to the state in our commercial fisheries, our sport fisheries, charter boats, the entire Oregon coast tourism. It could be worth billions, not millions, billions in the future years.
Well, and just to think what it would mean for feeding our planet in the future, our growing population.
Well, I think you're going to see that when we get this developed, we get that science, Oregon will become the leading state in science of research specifically to salmon. And it all started clear back in 2001 with Lindsey Ball's concept and his vision of needing a research center that we could do this work in. And it took a few years to convince the legislators that this was really something that was needed. But when you see a vote come off the floor, 89-1 off the 2 houses, and even the constituent base who have to pay the bill stepping up for the dollar surcharge and poundage fees from the commercials to fund this over the next 10 years, there's an interest and there's a commitment for the future of that facility.
Well, Wayne Krieger, thank you for joining us. We
Thank you.
appreciate you being here, and thank you for your work on behalf of Oregonians. Thank you for watching. This is Charter Local Edition Northwest in Salem.